Okay. Hey guys. My name is Sam, and I've had an okay day. Thanks for asking. Did a bit of cooking with friends and stuff. But having said that, I don't know. I just feel a bit of pressure because I'm trying to get videos out, and I'm just like, oh, there's so much more work to do, which is kind of interesting because I think that's probably the source of most of my issues. Is I stay up late all the time and I'm working on stuff because that's a good chunk of my issue. I think it's mainly just that I'm really fearful of just my future. So I'm just like, oh, do a thing like YouTube or something. Anyway, moving on. Where we left off, we are just super exhausted. So we can either reach out to someone close to me or not burden anyone with your problems. The thing is, some of the time I do that, and in fact I've actually been doing that a lot recently, as advised by my therapist. But and honestly that has made a world of difference this week, making sure that I'm actually catching up with people. And I imagine I will continue to do that because tomorrow is like the last time I'm seeing a person for a while. But I think in most situations when I feel this exhausted and I feel this completely aggravated and angry, I tend to just kind of shut myself in my room. So I'm going to say that I distract myself. What you really want more than anything is to turn your brain off and just disappear for a while. You sink I haven't seen resign being used like that. Resignedly into your couch and start playing video games, but you can't seem to focus on what's happening on screen. You cycle through a few different games, but tonight everything seems either too tedious or too aggravating for you to play for more than a few minutes. After a few of your online friends invite you to play a game with them, but the prospect of having to talk, let alone cooperate with other people, seems incredibly unpleasant. You decide to give the video games a rest for the evening, though you worry that you've offended your online friends and your next conversation will be awkward because of it, giving you yet another source of stress to weigh you down tonight. Whatever. I can agree with that. I know this is probably going to sound really stupid, but when I don't have my computer, like the computer that I'm recording on now, I get, because we only have, we do have more than one kind of device and screen and stuff, but my parents were kind of like, oh, we should just get an iPad instead of a computer, but I was like, I'm going to get a computer, so we've only got one computer in the house, and when it gets taken away from me, it is pretty, crazy. I'm like, no. Because basically all the work that I do on there is on there, and when I can't work, it just completely screws up my mind, because I just can't. I'm just like, but I need to do stuff. I need to work and stuff. So, yeah, I think when I try and do games and stuff in a situation like that, I get completely no, I can't, I just can't, I need to work. You boot up Netflix, God, I wish that would come to Australia, Netflix come to Australia, and cycle through some of your favourite shows and movies that you'd flagged as wanting to come back to, but again, nothing seems to hold your attention. You feel what can only be described as mentally fidgety, like there's an unscratchable itch somewhere on your brain that is becoming increasingly hard to ignore. You send a quick why can't I speak when I do these? It's so awful. You send a quick text to Alex, hoping that conversation will help pull you out of your head enough to relax. But you know she's in class tonight and the chances of her replying are slim. You head into the kitchen for food and come out with not so much as a sandwich as just peanut butter on 2 slices of bread. You pace anxiously around your apartment while you eat, irritated by both whatever this nerve-wracking feeling is and by your ability to just ignore it and unwind. This is also pretty accurate for me because I think part of the reason, amongst other things, like apart from like, oh yes, I want to do this thing and I want to find my purpose, because I kind of want to. I kind of hope when I do YouTube and stuff. I think everybody hopes to be like, oh, I'm going to be a star. But I mean, the only allure is kind of like, there's things like, oh, I want to collaborate with people. But I think, especially recently, I started to realize that it's more that I really don't see myself in kind of the work that I am doing at school. So it's kind of like an escape, and the concept of me being able to actually do this is kind of like, it actually gives me some kind of purpose. So that's why I'm so obsessed. I always try and post a lot and always get really stressed out about YouTube. But the other thing is that when you are bored, like I understand being bored, and I'm not necessarily one of those people that's like, oh, I'm in a waiting room and I'm so annoyed. Like, I'm not really one of those whiny kind of people as much. But when I do get bored, I tend to really think about the future, and the future is so nerve-wracking to me that's why I always try and find something to stimulate me. So yeah, that's a nice thing. After a few more sandwiches and an overly long shower, you're able to settle down enough to head off to bed. And we don't have a depression thing. That's kind of concerning. Ooh, wow. We're getting into prescriptions. Okay. It is an utterly nondescript Wednesday afternoon, the type of afternoon that would completely fade from memory unless one made an active effort to preserve it. Well, that's very specific. As has become routine on Wednesdays, you are sitting on the couch in Dr. Melville's office. For me, it's Thursdays, but To your mind's surprise, she begins this session by taking her characteristic therapist silence and begins breaking her characteristic therapist silence and begins speaking up right away. I wanted to start by saying that I think it's great you decided to come to see me. It's an incredibly important first step, she begins. I want to take some time today to talk to you about the possibility of supplementing or substituting your treatment with medication. Okay. The mention of medication makes your ears perk up and you feel your heart rate increasing. She continues. Many people find adding a pharmacological element to their treatment to be very helpful, and some even prefer to take drugs, completely eliminating their need to visit a therapist at all, provided you rely on your support network and are still reaching out to people. I would prefer it if we kept talking should you choose to start a medication, so that I can monitor your progress and adjust as needed. But the choice is ultimately yours. I just wanted to run the option by you to gauge what your thoughts on the matter might be. Dr. Melville has just given you a lot to think about. What do you do? Ooh. Well, I think at this point I do kind of want to discuss medication. I think one of the many reasons that I consider myself very lucky in whether this is depression or whether this is just some kind of like spillover of anxiety, which I feel that it might be from time to time. But I've never really had to take medication, which I'm very kind of thankful for. Like, I'm very thankful that I don't have to take drugs to be able to, like, do basic things in my life, because I know that's basically what it is. Like, it isn't something that just kind of makes you happy. It just kind of helps you be productive, I guess. And I've never really had a thought of I should take those, because it's mainly because I think one of the many things that I was kind of like, oh shit, I am in a deep hole, and I kind of went, oh no, I really need to see a therapist, is when I couldn't watch TV shows and anything, and I couldn't play video games or anything, because I didn't see that anymore as fun as much as in times of stress. It was just a distraction. And I felt that taking medication and that kind of thing would also be a distraction. It would be something that would make me happy, but it would be something that I would get very easily addicted to, because as with everything else, with shopping, with food, with all kinds of things, it would just become a thing that I'd just do over and over and over again just to get that high. And yeah, I just never saw it as really something that I could use. So, yeah. But I do kind of understand that if someone was in as dark a hole as this, which is much darker than I've really been in, that you would kind of need that. So our options are: accept a prescription as a way to augment your therapy. Tell her you'd like to try drugs instead of therapy. These weekly sessions have made you more than a little bit uncomfortable. The thought of messing with your brain chemicals makes you uneasy. You'll stick with the therapy, or this whole therapy thing has always been overwhelming for you, and this is the final straw. You're done with both. Well, the thing is, one way or another, I would probably stick with the therapy. I don't think I'd really ever be comfortable with just completely going away from therapy, because I think having someone that understands you is just as powerful, I guess, in my experience, which admittedly is kind of limited in this really dark kind of field. I'm not sure whether or not I'd take... I think I'd probably just stick with this. I'm not sure. I probably will negatively impact the story, because, like, we've got this right here. I don't know. 103, 103, 103, 103, 103. 103. I've got to die here. That's a 4. That's a 6. That's a 6. That's a 1. Okay. Gonna go with both. You think the matter over long and hard. It's strange to think that recently none of this sort of thing was even on your radar, and yet here you are being asked to make a decision about it. You're both skeptical and nervous, still trying to get over the initial shock of even being asked. Just talking to a therapist. I'm just making up stuff. I'm making up my own story, guys. Still, over the years, you've done enough entry-level reading on the subject to know that if it doesn't help, at least it probably won't hurt, right? After an intense and protracted period of internal vacillation, you decide to bite the bullet and go for it. You tell Dr. Melville that you'd like to try medication in addition to your therapy, and you spend about half an hour going over what you'll be taking and what you should expect from it. Thinking back on the decision later, you're pretty sure that you had your fist tightly clenched the whole way through. It's a Wednesday evening and you're visiting your parents' house for the holiday. It's one of the handfuls of times during the year you drive out to visit your old hometown, and you've seen random people you had gone to school with around town. Whenever bumping into them, the usual short versions of what you've done since graduating are exchanged. You've gone through a few of these today and have been very aware of how much you feel you haven't accomplished. When you were in high school, you had much larger plans, and you feel like you failed to manifest most of them. Yeah. Even if you had managed to, you've largely lost interest in what you thought you wanted to do growing up. Oh, painfully accurate. Because I actually had school split up, the last year of school split up into 2 years, and everyone went off to university, and I was like, I'm so jealous, you get to like study whatever you want. And then I went to community college and studied what I want, and hated it, and continue to hate it. And in fact, I was supposed to graduate this year from community college, but I'm actually going to have to go back next year because I failed a subject because I was just so completely like, nope, can't do a thing. Yeah, so I know that feel, and it's kind of awful as well because I think that's what really helps with all the nervous things about the future, is the fact that I kind of want to go to another subject. But the problem is that firstly, I'm going to just have wasted a year going to community college that I can't actually do anything with. And then, after all that, I don't even, like, I'm going to be going in being like, oh yeah, I want to do this, but that's the kind of feeling that I went in with going into the current course I'm in, so I have absolutely no reason to think that I'm necessarily going to do any better, and I might just, like, waste tons of years, and basically, if I just kind of, oh my god, I'm making myself stressed, like, if I just go from one thing to the other, then how is this gonna work? I'm just gonna be spending years like jumping from thing to thing. So yeah, that's the hole I guess I'm in. It's that I'm just really terrified about the future. And I just try and overwork to kind of compensate for it. And quite a lot of the time I don't even work, and then I get like angry at myself and stuff. Okay. Now you're not really sure what you want to do, and you feel like you're lacking the ambition or drive to figure it out. Everyone you've caught up with seems so much happier than you. Like they've got all their lives figured out, and you're feeling kind of like a failure by comparison. So accurate. So accurate. There's so much envy in my life. There's almost no one that I'm not envious of in some way. Your brother Malcolm arrives with his wife in tow, and also before I even continue with that, it's kind of awful because then I know people that legitimately have it harder than me, and then I just feel guilty that I'm like being like, oh, why is my life so hard, when they're like getting potentially evicted from houses and stuff. I'm like, whoa. And then it makes me even more nervous because then I'm like, I'm potentially heading straight towards that. Okay, that's terrifying. Okay, moving on. Your brother Malcolm arrives with his wife in tow shortly before you all sit down to dinner. He's been travelling for his job lately and you haven't seen him since the day he picked you up from the dentist. Your parents haven't seen him since before then. During dinner they all catch up and Malcolm talks about the amazing things he's done on the road. Your mother turns to you and asks you what you've been up to since you've seen them last. Oh, same old, you say. Nothing really new going on. So accurate. So accurate. Maybe cut that bit out. Also cut that bit out. Your mother makes a face. Your mother makes a face. Oh, nothing new? How long are you planning on staying at that job of yours? What do you say? And we have three options. We can lie, tell them what they want to hear, you're actively looking for a more prestigious position. We can admit that you don't know what you want to do, or you excuse yourself to the bathroom. And I would like you guys to tell me what you think you would do in this scenario in the comment section. But until then, this is, I don't even know what number it is, but I know that I'm probably going to be posting something either today or tomorrow. Just subscribe, and there'll be new ones of this and new ones of other stuff in the near future. And I will see you soon. Bye.